Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Deep Rock Galactic. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Zarel. Let's get to it. Alright, so today we're doing the deep dive, codenamed Devil's Killing. But before we get to that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. Alright, so let's get into it. So the first stage of the deep dive has no modifiers, but it has 3 pipelines and 2 alien eggs that you have to do. Alien eggs are on the terrain scanner, so you can look exactly where they are on the map, and they do have a chance of spawning a wave of a swarm of enemies. About a 50% chance, if I had to put a number to it. And of course, you have the refined the liquid morkite, which means that you're going to look for those blue flames coming up and request the pump jack, and then make a pipeline going from the rig to each of the 3 pump jacks once you have all 2 alien eggs, so both of them, and you have all 3 pipelines in place. Then you're ready to start pumping. Now once you start pumping, you're going to have continual swarms of enemies, or waves of swarms, one after another, and you're going to have pipelines breaking. So it's important to be ready to go. Now, as you know, the deep dive is a raid-like environment with 3 stages where you can play either solo or with up to 3 other players. There is matchmaking, so you don't have to necessarily play with 3 of your friends or 3 people on your friends list. You can be matched up with other people that also want to do the deep dive. And the reason for doing the deep dive, of course, is those matrix cores. The matrix cores can be anything from an emote or a cosmetic to an overclock for your weapon. And depending on the overclock, it can make a world of difference in how you play. So, very important to get through the deep dive and get those matrix cores, 1 for each stage. And of course, while you're doing each stage, you're going to be on the lookout for both gold and nitra. The gold will, of course, add to your credits at the end of the deep dive. Nitra will allow you to call in resupplies so that you don't run out of ammo or grenades or traversal materials, etc. So, always important to have a sufficient amount of nitra, as you need 80 nitra for each resupply drop. Now, once you get 100% of the liquid morkite refined and the 2 alien eggs, then you're ready to call in the drop pod and get out. Now, even though you're on your way out, make sure that you are looking or on the lookout for both nitra and gold, for those reasons that I had mentioned earlier. Now, in between each stage, everything carries over, including what you're holding in your bag. So even if you don't have an opportunity per se to drop it into the mule or the rig or the drop pod, you always have a chance to do it in the next stage, unless of course you're on the last stage.
Hurry up! I'm getting bored! Rock and stone! It never gets old.
Now once you're ready, get on the drop pod as quickly as possible. Hopefully you have someone with a either a gunner with a zip line, or someone that can help you get up to the drop pod or over to the drop pod if it is in a strange or precarious location. And that's it for this first stage of the deep dive. On to stage number 2. Now, stage number 2 has you mining morkite and defeating 1 dreadnought. So of the 3 stages, I would say that the second stage is probably the one that you're going to need the most ammo or the most number of supply drops, depending on how you look at it. Now there are two modifiers, rival presence and rich atmosphere. Rich atmosphere means that you will have the opportunity, or you will be able to move faster. But that also means that enemies move faster as well. So you won't have as much time to get out of the way or move to a safer location. Rival presence, of course, means that you're going to see turrets, patrol bots, shredder drones, possibly even a nemesis. So you'll have to be on the lookout not only for the bugs, but also for the machines. And it can be a deadly combination when the bugs can move quickly to close the distance much faster, and of course the turrets, especially sniper turrets, that can hit you from far away. So make sure that you are able to disable the turrets if at all possible. Get close to that control unit and take them all down. Now, Morkite, be on the lookout, you and your friends or other players that you're playing with. It has a shimmer to it even in the dark, so you don't necessarily have to waste a flare to see if there's some in the corridor that you're in, because there should be a shimmer to it even in pitch black. So if you're out of flares for whatever reason, then you can still see them. Now, as I said before, this is probably the stage that you will need a lot of ammo because of the modifiers, because of the dreadnought. Dreadnoughts in and of themselves require a lot of ammo because of the invulnerability, because of the phases of damage, and in this case the Arbalist and Lacerator, because there's two of them, you have to do twice as much damage, and they can heal each other, so you want to damage one, go over and damage the other one, and kind of go back and forth and do a little bit of damage here, a little bit of damage there. Because if you do a whole lot of damage on one but not the other, then they'll both go invulnerable where you can't damage them, and then they'll heal. One will be brought up by quite a bit. One will take a small dive in health, but not considerable enough to make it worthwhile to only focus on one. So do make sure that you're focused on changing your focus between the two of them, so that you are always damaging one a little bit and then switching to the other. Now, you may have a different one. If you have a Glyphid Dreadnought, then of course you have to take out the shielding before you can actually do any real damage. And then the Hive Guard, you have to take out the Sentinels before you can take down the shielding and do some actual damage. The Hive Guard is probably, I would say, the worst Dreadnought to come across, as that one seems to take even more ammo compared to other Dreadnoughts, in my opinion. Now, this is a good time to point out that it is a good idea to communicate with your team, whether you are doing so through the mic or with your laser pointer. You should be talking with them and telling them what you're going to be doing. You can also tell them where you're going or points of interest. Say, hey, look at this Nitra. Hey, this Dreadnought's here. Especially with the Lacerator and Arbalist, if you tag one of them and they disappear, when they reappear, they'll still be tagged, so you can keep track of them a little bit easier. So if two people, one's doing each one, then you'll always know where they're at and they won't surprise you. So other than the Dreadnought, which you'll probably meet around halfway through, just be on the lookout for Morkite, Nitra, and Gold. Honestly, I can't understate the importance of gold and nitra. Nitra is good during the mission, and then gold is good after the mission. And you might be saying that, hey, I don't really need gold. I seem to have a lot more gold than I need. That may be true right now, but down the road, as you get into the higher player ranks, into the higher promotional tiers, it becomes more and more expensive to promote your dwarves. So the further you go, the more expensive it's going to be, the more materials and gold you're going to need to promote those dwarves. So you may not need a lot at the beginning, but as you go along, you're going to need more and more, which means, of course, that you're going to be looking for more and more gold as you go along. And you might be looking for, gold rush or gold bug modifiers in missions as you go along, which is not something that you can deal with during the deep dive, but individual assignments you certainly can. Now, once you get the Morkite and the Dreadnought taken care of, you can call in the drop pod and start making your way. If you have an idea of where it's at or how to get to it, then you can take off. If you're not really sure, you can just follow the mule. If you're a driller or if you're next to a driller, you can follow them because they can make a straight line path from wherever you're at to wherever the drop pod is. So make your way over to the drop pod. If you get there before the mule, you'll have to defend for a little bit. So you're going to be using some of your ammo to stay alive. Hopefully you will have mined a large amount of nitra or excess nitra so that you will be able to call in drop resupply pods in the next stage, where you won't have to worry about how much ammo you're using or how many grenades you're throwing, because you'll be able to call in resupplies as needed. Once you get down to below 50%, you can call in another one and not be worried about it. Now, I do want to point out that we had one of the special brews before we started, and today it was Tunnel Rat. So this particularly works really well with the Scout. When you're flying around, sometimes you misgauge your distance and drop really far down. Tunnel Rat helps you not to take fall damage, or it takes much farther to take that fall damage. All right, so we're on to the third and last stage of the deep dive, and it may feel a little familiar. For this one, you are refining liquid Morkite once again and extracting Morkite once again. So 2 stages, you're going to be doing liquid Morkite and extracting Morkite. This one, however, also has a modifier, or a different modifier, of Haunted Cave, which means that you have a ghost bug following one member of your team around. For this stage, it is imperative that everyone stays away from the rig as much as possible. If you don't have to be there, don't be there. Because if someone needs to drop supplies or resources into the bucket, there's no mule, you have to do it at the rig. And if the unknown horror is at the rig, it's an easy way for your teammates or you to go down, and it is easy to avoid that happening just by keeping the unknown horror away from the rig. If no one's at the rig, unknown horror isn't going to be there. Now, once you have the Morkite and all 3 pipelines set, then you can start extracting the Morkite. Now, just because you're on the 3rd stage doesn't mean you don't want to keep getting nitra and or gold. You still want to get it if you need that extra resupply, it's good to have that extra nitra. And of course, get every single gold nugget that you possibly can in every level, if possible. It's not always possible to get all the gold in a level, but if you can, grab it.
Pipeline functional again. However, we still have
If you can revive your teammates, certainly do so, because that will add to your score at the end. Everyone that makes it out alive adds to your score, so it's always a very good idea. This time, someone led the unknown horror back to the rig, and I was unaware of that. So I got kind of ambushed by the unknown horror. So communicate, dig, 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 mine, mine, mine. Get that Morkite, both liquid and a mineral, and then of course get out, get all your rewards, experience, credits, and of course the all-important matrix cores. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll see you next time.
Pump sequence 50%. Keep all systems running, and we're done in no time. The extraction has stopped. Must be due to jammed pipelines. Get it fixed.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna kill you all. You snooze, you lose.
This pipeline is fixed, but there are more outstanding issues.
Lloyd! Steve is gone. He was
This pipeline is fixed, but you need to clear all malfunctions in order for the refinery to run.
alien. Go!
Did I hear a rocket?
Well done. All pipelines are fixed, and the refinery is purring like a kitten once more. We got company. Incoming swarm approaching you.
Lloyd is up! You're cute, but you're dead.
Pump sequence at 75%. Keep the pipelines running at all costs.
Look at me, I'm Stony Rock!
The pipelines are jammed. You need to maintain it.
Feeling much better now.
Pipeline repaired, but other pipelines are still malfunctioning.
Surfing Hoxton!
Pipeline functional again. However, we still have malfunctions in the system.
Rock and roll!
Rock and stone!
Pipeline's operational again. You're doing fine.
Lights up!
Bugs, get ready. Liquid Morkite quota met. Hit the return button on the refinery to send the goods to orbit. We'll send in the drop pod to get you out. All objectives completed. You're ready to start the pump sequence.
Here we go!
See you, suckers! Here I go!
Well done. Cargo rocket is returning to orbit. We're sending in the drop pod to get you out. Hang tight.
I gotta watch the overheating. Lighting up!
Born ready.
Let there be light!
Drop pod departing in T-minus 3 minutes.
Gonna be a sober occasion, rockin' stone like there's no tomorrow!
Drop pod is a true workhorse.
I'm wondering if fighting bugs and moving dirt is the best way to make a living. Flares up!
We rock! Come on! Rock and stone, everyone!
Them, not me!
Arsewipe!
No flares ready.
Damn!
Lights
Shield
up!
placed! Rock and roll!
Get ready to let
Extraction commencing. Good work.
Rockety rock and stone, brother!
Rockin' stone! It never gets old.